Hey, welcome back here to another episode of the Central PA Pour, and this is our Merry Christmas episode.
Merry Christmas.
We started off just about a year ago, Dave, and I think our first one was just audio, but I got our hat.
Hey,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So we've been at this 1 year, so Merry Christmas out there, and we're hoping you guys all have a blessed Christmas. And Dave, anything you got plans for Christmas?
Yeah, we're going to celebrate Christmas.
You're not you didn't ask Santa for any Christmas Nikon gear this year? Every year.
Every year. Every year I ask for Nikon gear. Every year I look under the tree. Actually, to tell you the truth, I've had quite a few Nikon gifts over the years. But I guess my bag's full right now. So
your bag's full.
I don't need to jump into anything.
Well, no matter what it is, Christmas is about the holiday, family, and friends. That's what it's all about. So enjoy it. Merry Christmas. And we're sitting here and we have another guest. This is a whole different thing. And we want to bring him in for our first episode with remote. We're going to welcome our guest and let him introduce himself. So welcome to the Central PA Pour.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's an honor. I'm Derek Wolf from Wolf Brewing Company. We're based in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. We just opened May 5th, 2021, so we're rather young. But you got to come check us out. We have a full restaurant, beautiful tap room, 24 different beers on tap, craft cocktails, wine, mead, cider, all Pennsylvania products. And all our beers are gluten reduced to 20 parts per million or less, which is unique to us. And a lot of people with celiac or other gluten intolerances can drink our beer without an issue. My sister has a bad allergy, so I had to do it for her so she could drink every beer on tap. So I put an enzyme that reduces all the gluten in the beer. So most of them are down to 5-10 parts per million, but we feel comfortable saying 20 parts per million or less.
Well, I tell you what, you sound like a freaking scientist, Derek.
Nowhere close.
So welcome to the Central PA Pour. I know you and I have been back and forth trying to do this, and we are very happy to have you on this episode and feature Wolf Brewing, because I've been up there several times. You and I just spoke a couple weeks ago when my wife and I came up. It is a fantastic and enjoyable environment. I don't know, but you are in an area where it stands out. The food was excellent by all means. The beer, of course, always good. Even though this is a Conshohocken, I can't wait to get into yours. How did you get into opening this establishment, and what is your barrel system? I mean, how many barrels can you put out?
Oh, so we have a 10-barrel brew house.
10 barrel. That's a lot of beer.
It is.
But how did you figure out this is what you want to do and put up a brick and mortar like that?
So in 2011, I started home brewing. A friend of mine gave me a Mr. Beer kit from Walmart. I ended up making a West Coast Pale Ale, threw in some canned mangoes, so made a mango West Coast Pale Ale. It turned out pretty good. I was surprised how well it turned out on my first try, and then I made a few more kits. Friends and family were very nice. So I started making them all grain from scratch, and my wife gave me some goals to win some awards. Just to get unbiased feedback, just because friends and family, they're too nice. They're not going to be critics about it. And we really needed that unbiased feedback just to see if the beer truly did taste good or if friends and family were just too nice.
So it all stemmed from a Mr. Beer kit.
It did. So as a kid, I wanted to be a chef. That was my dream, was to be a chef. And then I wanted to follow in my father's footsteps. He was a doctor, and thought, I want to be a doctor like him. Ended up seeing how much school you have to go to, and organic chemistry and biochemistry. A lot of that really scared me away from it. And I thought, this isn't for me. I ended up going into medical sales. So I'm fascinated with anatomy. I love anatomy and the science behind it. But a lot of that chemistry really scared me. But now it came full circle, and I'm really, truly passionate about it. And I love it, how it's all relating to beer. So it all came full circle. So the biochemistry and the organic chemistry and all that scared the heck out of me to go to med school. I'm now, I love it. It's really interesting, and I still feel like I only know this much. I need to learn so much more. But really, really a cool side of things where your culinary is what I wanted to do when I was younger. So it's like I just happen to make soup and hope the yeast do their job.
So it sounds like you still have another job.
I do, yeah. So I work full time as a medical sales consultant. So I work in the OR with pediatric scoliosis surgeons and general and spine surgeons as well, up in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and Danville. So I'm there. Depending on the week, it could be 3 or 4 surgeries, and some weeks I may not have any. But there's a lot of inventory and other things and shipping that you have to do too. But I got to pay bills somehow. We owe the bank a lot of money, so got to keep my other job for the time being.
Well, I tell you what. So you're holding down a job full time, and it sounds like you're traveling with it, and you got a brewery, restaurant, craft brew house. Where are you finding time, Derek?
It's hard. There's only 168 hours in a week, and I feel like I'm only sleeping for 40 or so. So there's a lot to do, but I love it. I don't feel like I'm working when I'm here at the brewery. Even when I'm in the OR with the the surgeon customers that I work with, I'm passionate about that too. I love doing both, but eventually I'm going to have to hang up the medical sales and just focus on here. But I have my wife. She's president and CEO. She runs front of house, back of house, payroll, accounting. She does it all. So without her, it wouldn't be possible. I mean, I'm only doing a portion of this business. She focuses on 99% of it on a daily basis. So she's a huge help.
That's awesome. So we're not going to go into the medical side because I don't do medical, and you'll see me pass out and fall over if you want to start in your OR. We're going to focus on your beer and what you guys do. I've had several of your beers over the last couple of years since we started this journey, and I've always enjoyed them. They were top notch. And what were some of the awards you say you won as a home brewer?
Oh, thank you. So initially, my wife said you need to win 5 awards. Any state, doesn't matter, just has to be a BJCP, AHA sanctioned competition. And a month or so later, I had those 5 awards, and she said that we have a lot more time to really focus on this, so you need to get an award in every state in the country. I thought she was crazy. I said, you're out of your mind, but I'm competitive. I've been an athlete for most of my life, so I said, you're on. I will do 100 just to spite you.
Wow.
I didn't expect to get a single award. I couldn't believe that after the first one I entered in actually that was New Jersey, was the first competition I entered. Couldn't believe that I won an award. So it was just, I shipped the beer out. I would cross my fingers, hope UPS, FedEx would get it there in one piece. And then we just hope that, we'd get good feedback. Really, it was all about the good unbiased feedback, because that really helps you become a better brewer. Through the process, she also said you need to become a beer judge. So I became a beer judge, after my near-death experience, my accident. I ended up going through that process and learning a ton, learning all the beer styles and the ingredients that go in each style and how and why they came about. Really, it makes you appreciate every style of beer, and it helps you to appreciate how to fix something. So if you're judging a beer and there's a flaw, how do you fix it and how do you make it better? And that's the goal. You try to give every brewer that you're judging their beer, you want to give them good feedback so they make it better next time.
Wow. So she laid the gauntlet down, kind of said, this was your honey-do list. And unlike most of us husbands, you accomplished your honey-do list. And it sounds like you exceeded it.
It became quite a process. I think at this point we have it's 129 awards every state in the country with 55 different beers or 56 different beers. So some are homebrew, some are commercial. Very fortunate and blessed that they all came about. We couldn't believe it. It is amazing to see that the feedback was so nice, and you learn from it, which is the best part, is you learn how to make it better every time you make it.
And that learning process, where did you pick that up from? If you started with just a Mr. Beer kit, where did that process come from? Does it stem to some of the stuff that with your medical field, with that background? Or
some of that helps. A lot of it was just trial and error. So I brewed at my house. I brewed a lot. I've probably brewed several hundred batches of beer, and most of them I've never brewed again. I'd like to brew a new beer every time. and it would be whatever style I had available. I would ship out to whatever state was coming up. So I really didn't brew a beer for a certain competition. It was just I wanted to learn the different styles. I made a Scottish 60 shilling ale. I've never made one again. It was called Great Scott. It'll definitely come back.
I'd come up for that Scottish ale. Was it a wee heavy? Was it a wee heavy?
No, it was just the 60 shillings. So they had that 60, 70, 80 shilling, which is more of the lighter style. And then the wee heavy, you get up to that 10, 12% alcohol.
I tell you what, and I brought this up several episodes. I mean, we've always been the darker beers, like the stouts, the porters, lagers. Ales are becoming some of my most sought after, whether it's a brown ale, cream ale, something like that. You do some Scottish ales or even a wee heavy, I'm all in, buddy. I'm all in.
I'll have to get them on tap.
What are you drinking, Dave?
It's a wee heavy. It's a Scotch ale.
Oh, and you only brought fucking one, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And I spit in this one.
So I tell you what, that is phenomenal. What you have accomplished as a home brewer. Awards. I mean, that is a lot of an award. So, and you had to learn how to become a judge. How did you do that? Was there a process with that?
Yeah, so the judging, there's a certification program that you do an online exam. It's 200 questions. They're multiple choice, mark all that apply, and you have 18 seconds per question. So some of them are very simple, but some are difficult. They'll ask the different temperatures that enzymes are most active in a mash, and it could be 145 to 155, 147 to 157. They tried to trick you. But once you got past that, then you had to do a tasting exam. That's the harder part. You were given 6 beers, and my problem was I got the plate and screws taken out of my femur, and I had to go judge within that same week. So I was on Vicodin. So your senses are really not pristine when you're on medication like that. So I couldn't believe that I passed. I ended up with an 80%. So I ended up getting a certified BJCP judge. But they make it very difficult. They'll give you a beer and they'll skunk it. They'll actually add vinegar to it, or they'll add some of that acetaldehyde to make it get that green apple character, or they'll put oxidizers in it to make it taste musty or sawdusty. They try to trick you, but you have to be able to pick out what the flaw is and how to fix it, and then they judge you accordingly. So when your senses aren't great and you're on medication, that made it difficult. I think the hardest one I had was the old ale. I totally had a brain fart when the old ale came across, and I just thought, I'm going to judge this for what it is. I don't know the style particularly. I'm drawing a blank. And I actually scored the highest on that one, surprisingly.
I tell you what, you're probably our first guest that's been through all this. Not only won awards, but learn how to become a judge. I wouldn't want to have you describe your palate, because our palate is, it's good. I'm going to drink it.
Yeah, that's about it.
So speaking of drinking,
yeah.
Are you ready for your first one, Derek?
Try our first one here?
Yeah, sounds good.
What are we going to be trying first?
So you have the Stochl Pilsner, which is one of our flagships. I made that for my great-grandfather. So I'm part Czech, and he's Czechoslovakian. My grandmother's father. So this is a Czech-style Pilsner. It is soft in character, and it's brewed with 100% Saaz hops and Czech malts as well. And we go for a very soft water profile. So you should be tasting a lot of flavor. I know most Pilsners, you don't get tons of character from them, but when you hop things substantially throughout the boil, I throw in about 10 or 11 hop additions in our Pilsner to really give it a full flavor.
So 10 or 11 hops you're throwing in this.
Yeah, so different timings. Some go in the mash tun, some go, mostly in the kettle, the whirlpool as well. I don't dry hop that beer, so nothing goes in the fermenter other than just the yeast and our enzyme for the gluten reduction.
I tell you what.
We pour that off our side pool. That's my favorite. So we have a Czech faucet from Prague, and it's a 90-degree side pool faucet with a wooden handle, and we do 3 different pours. We do a Milko pour, which is a wet foam pour that you're supposed to drink before it settles. And you're going to get a lot of the Saaz character and the hop character out of that. It's not bitter, but you just taste the hop flavor. And then we do a regular pour, which you're all used to. They're carbonated, they're effervescent. and they have some bitterness to them, and they're dry and crisp at the finish. But then the slow pour, it brings out all the malt flavor, hop flavor, and you get a dome of Cool Whip-like head on top of it. It takes 7 minutes to pour it, and that takes the bitterness away, and it's less carbonation. So when you're eating, it's much better to consume it.
So it's
all
almost
three
like
beers.
No, go ahead, Derek.
I was going to say all three beers, they taste a little different, even though it's the same beer.
So in other words, it's almost like pouring a Guinness. It takes time to pour a good pour of this if you're doing the regular pour.
Correct. Yeah, I recommend the slow pour. You just get more of the flavor of the beer.
Well, when we poured this, and there'll be a pour video when we stick in this, the first pour there was a lot of foam.
Yes.
But it's also a full crowler that I got from you.
Yeah.
And it's a little hard. This is it's crushable. I'm going to just say it's crushable. It is an easy drinking. I get very little hop note out of it. It's very smooth. So compare this to your mass product like a Miller Lite or something like this all day. So
pretty good.
Yeah. Cheers.
No, cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, this is very tasty. I like this. And I am not an IPA. I'm not a big hoppy beer fan. Let's put it that way. I'm always like, it's not my cup of tea. But this is pretty good. I could drink this.
Wow. That's a good summer beer. Now, what kind of ABV are we talking with something like this, Derek?
So that's only 5% alcohol, so it definitely is a crushable beer. And it's one of those that you can drink and eat, and you're not going to really mess with your palate. It's not going to crush you like an IPA would, where your taste buds are changing throughout when you're eating. So it's definitely a beer to consume food with.
Now, is that a staple with your facility? Is always on tap?
Yes, I try to always have that on tap. I actually need to transfer that today, so it's on tap for tomorrow. It may not be on tap tomorrow. It may just be Thursday. But yeah, that beer, I always try to time it right because it takes 5 to 6 weeks to ferment. So if you see it kick quick, you got 5 to 6 weeks till it's coming back.
Wow, that is a very good beer. So kudos.
Oh, thank you.
So you mentioned earlier in your discussion a near-death experience. Explain that a little bit and what came about of that. I mean, what happened? And I think you and I, before we started, talked about those plates behind you.
Yes. So I tripped on a railroad track. I had a tie between my legs, and I was walking, turned and looked at my friend that was behind me. And as I turned back, my foot hit the tie, and I had 3 feet to the left of me with no railing. I tried to catch myself. Rather than just trip and fall, I would have been fine, but I tried to catch myself, and over I went, fell 30 feet, broke 25 bones, collapsed my lung, broke my femur. You'll see right underneath my shoulder, you'll see right here, there is a femur tap handle. So the plate and screws that were in my femur to repair it after I broke it, I made a replica and put it just like it was in my leg on a clear femur. So that's our tap handle for our derailed double IPA. I made that beer recipe in my hospital bed on a lot of medications. And it's one of our flagship double IPAs, and we try to keep that on tap consistently. Every once in a while we'll have a different double IPA that'll come about, and that'll come back. But that's one that's near and dear to my heart. It's kind of what gave us the fire to open Wolf Brewing. You'll only live once. Live your passion and risk it all. And your future kids and grandchildren will be in debt, but at least you did it.
Now, my wife and I were up there the other week, and you and I were talking. You're in an area that's growing rapidly. There's like townhouses, markets going around you. But you mentioned you had to purchase that area, that property.
Yeah. So, I mean, we looked at so many different locations. We probably started searching heavily. So after I won the final 50th state, that was April 2016, we really got serious about it. And we looked at least 3-4 dozen locations, and just the building was either too small, the roof was too low, not enough parking, and renovations would have been way too expensive. And the bank told us, they said, your dream's amazing, and we're going to back you 100%. We're going to do everything we can for you, but if you don't own it, we're sorry. It's just too risky. We can't, support you with a lease. So if we fail, at least they own the building and they own the land. So that was what we had to go. So we went that route, and we begged and pleaded with the developers of Landmark, and they gave us the dream. They said, welcome to the neighborhood. We will sell you a plot of land, and then you can build your dream brewery restaurant. So we thank the Lord every day that this happened, and that we have a physical location that we can grow into and be our forever home. And if we ever want to grow production, we can find a warehouse and crank out a lot of beer from there and send it out to the public. But this is hoping, this is going to be our forever home, hopefully.
So that's awesome. And it is a beautiful facility. So that was built from the ground up. Did your wife have input on this, or did you guys conglomerate to do,
Oh yeah, it definitely was. It was a team effort. We worked with an architect and mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, structural engineer. Widener Construction did a phenomenal job. They were a general contractor, and they helped us with all the subcontractors and organized the whole project for us. We designed probably 4 different buildings, so this was our 4th design, different locations, but we learned a lot, and we really figured out a way to try to get everything we wanted into one building. There's certain things you'd always change or do again differently, but it was our first time ever doing this, and we're happy with the result.
I'd say I'd be happy with that result. It's a great look. You walk in the front door, you feel like you're like sitting in somebody's like den dining room area, and then you go to the dining room, and it's a lot of space, and you can see the brewery, your tap house where you brew, through your big windows. So I think you've created a destination, Derek, in Mechanic. I don't think Dave has been there yet.
No, I haven't been there yet. I've been by it a couple of times, but I haven't had a chance to drop in.
We're gonna get him to stop in. We'll fucking bring him with us.
Well, there's an easy way to do that. Just say you'll buy.
Oh, I'll buy.
Yeah.
So this is a partnership, you and your wife. Was it your dream, her dream, or was it a combination of both?
It was a combination of both. I'd say primarily it was her dream initially. She always wants to be an entrepreneur. So she worked in the restaurant industry for 8 or 9 years. Pretty much every job she did it except for owning it. So now she has that ownership behind her. She's the president and CEO, 100% owner. I don't want to manage 50 people. I want to manage myself.
Don't argue that, Derek.
Yeah.
People that have been married a while, don't argue that.
Yeah, she's fantastic, and I really wanted to give her that. You need to be the owner. This has been your dream, and you've pushed me along the way and helped me get to where I'm at. So without her, none of this would have happened.
That's awesome. Now, going back to the awards and the wife and the honey-do list, knowing me, I'd have come home and been a smart ass about it. Like, oh, so I won these awards, honey. See, I can do this. What do you say now? I hope you didn't do that, did you?
No, I said, I can't believe this is happening.
That's awesome. So you say she was in the restaurant business. I saw in your note here, you want to start a family?
Yeah,
Has the process started?
She's 33 weeks pregnant. So we have a baby boy arriving February 8th. We're going to name him Ari, A-R-I, and his middle name will be Kyle. We both have brothers named Kyle, and then Wolf, W-O-L-F. So Ari, Kyle, Wolf.
Well, congratulations.
So congratulations. I'm going to toast to that. So congratulations.
Thank you. I finally have a brewing assistant. It just was going to take 21 years.
And what is
what
is your wife's name?
Her name is Elaine.
Elaine. So congratulations, Derek and Elaine. And
thank you.
Welcome to the world in about a few weeks, Ari.
There you go. Welcome to the world of fathership.
Yes.
I know. Excited but very nervous.
There you go.
Is this your first one?
Yes.
Yeah. Treasure it, because by the time, in a blink of an eye, it will be in the past, and you'll be like, where the heck did that time go?
That's what I hear from most of my friends and family. Don't let it go by too fast. You gotta watch them grow, but they grow way too fast. But take the time you need so you're around them when they're growing so fast.
Are you going to do a special beer for Ari, like an Ari ale? An
Yes,
Ari
I have
ale or
to. I
something? There you
have
go.
to come up with something.
That might be the Scottish Wee Heavy. I tell you what. So how long did you go from the kit to an all grain? How long did that process take?
So I
Because-
started the first kit in January 2012, and I'd say my first all grain batch was probably May or June. 4 or 5, 6 months after.
Shit, Dave, we're 2 years in and we're still doing kits.
Yeah, well,
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You can make great beer with kits. Extract, you can still make great beer. I mean, I won awards making extract beer. It doesn't have to be all grain.
Only
it
if
just
you have
gives
your
you more
brewing
control.
partners. Only if you have your brewing partners, Derek. I screwed one up without them last Christmas, so
well, that's like saying that Derek has never ever
and he
screwed a beer up. Right?
No.
Oh, I've definitely screwed up some beers.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I mean, you say you'll brew it once and sometimes you don't brew it again. And you did 100 some before you went commercial.
Yes.
Damn, we're only on number 6 and we're 2 years in.
Yeah, there are beers that I kept brewing again just because we're known for our German chocolate cake, so that's one that I brewed a lot. But I would always make new IPAs and new single, double, triple IPAs, different stouts, and then all sorts of different saisons, farmhouse ales, Scottish ales, and a lot of English ales, German, Czech, Belgium. So try to do as many different styles as I could, just to learn from them and learn the ingredients in the process.
And where did the styles come from? I mean, since you say you have a Czechoslovakian background, is that what it was?
Yeah, so I have cousins that live in the Czech Republic. I'm part Czech, part German too. But the Czech style really gravitates to me. I really enjoy the softer palate, softer profile. And Pilsen in the Czech Republic, their water quality is really, really soft. They have very little mineral content in their water due to all the limestone. So they have, I'd say it's close to Deer Park as far as spring water. It's close to 5 to 10 parts per million across the board for their minerals, where most water in this area, you're looking at 200 to 300 parts per million. And in Pilsen, you're looking at probably about 20, sometimes 25. So they have very soft water, which gives the beer a softer, rounder feel to it. So that Pilsner that you're drinking, I hop it almost more aggressively than I do IPAs. IPAs, I'm more aggressive on the dry hopping portion. But as far as in the boil, I put more hops in the Pilsner than I do in any of our IPAs. But due to that soft water and that maltiness, you're really covering some of that abrasive hop character. And it's a lot more appealing because it doesn't have a sharp finish or a sharp bite to it like a lot of the harder water beer styles.
And around here, did you find you have to are you using the water around here, or did you have to search for different water?
So I lived in Harrisburg when I was home brewing, so I had Susquehanna River water, so it was about 100 parts per million, which is relatively soft. But over here in Mechanicsburg, we're dealing with about 226 parts per million, so it's a lot harder. So we use RO water, which is reverse osmosis. So we bring water into the building and strip it to 0 parts per million. And then I use that water to blend back with the city water. So I'll take the city water that has all the minerals, all the trace minerals, the zinc, the iron, the copper, which are really good for yeast. And I blend that carbon filtered city water with the RO water. So every beer I make has a different water profile. I add different salts to different beers. But I like to brew with softer water. So we're looking at about 40 to 60 parts per million across the board on most of the beer styles. And then I'll add more minerals in the mash tun and the kettle if I want to get the water profile a little bit harder. Our Irish stout, I'm using a little bit harder water than I would on our Pilsner. And certain, Belgian ales, I'll use a little bit harder water just because the yeast character kind of needs a harder profile, or it'll be a little weak and mellow and you want something to be a little more flavorful. So it all depends on the beer style.
I tell you what, you're blowing us away with all the knowledge you got about water, brewing, and everything else. It sounds like you were in Germany and went through their freaking beer master classes. I'm telling you what.
I wish. It's on my bucket list. I wish I need to go to the Czech Republic, Belgium, Germany. Can't wait.
Well, we need to hook you up with Irina Wise out down at Windridge because that's where she got her education.
Yeah.
Was over there.
I think she took that. I don't know if she took that Siebel course. So that was something I did, was an online, the Siebel World Beer Academy. They're based out of Chicago and Munich. I did all the stuff online that I could, but the Brewmaster one, it's 12 weeks in Germany.
Yeah, I think that's what she did, wasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't have the time for that. I would love to do it. That would just be amazing to leave for weeks. But
let me give you a little hint. You got a child on the way.
Yeah,
you don't have any more time.
No,
your time went from here to there.
Yeah.
So, personal interest, when you have time between your full-time job and your full-time brewing job and restaurant, what do you like to do?
So between the full-time job and the restaurant and brewery, I really don't have the time to do anything else. But if I did have openings on weekends, and I love golf and love spending time with my family, going swimming, going to the beach. But between the two jobs, I figured the first 3 to 5 years, I'm not going to be able to do really anything outside of, working in the OR, working in the restaurant and brewery. But I know I signed up for it. I figured it was going to be brutal, but I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
And you're doing a phenomenal job at it. And trust me, like I said, I've been up there a couple times. My wife and I were just there a couple weeks ago, and it's always an outstanding experience. Do you have your beer available anywhere but your tap room?
So we do have it available on tap at Greystone, Dillsburg, the Dillsburg Brew House, as well as the Greystone Public House in Harrisburg, and Hidden Still in Hershey. So we just have 3 places right now. We may have more moving forward, but between just running this place, pretty busy just keeping up with here. But I like to see people have opportunities to drink something closer to home. But we do have a lot of debt, so we want people to come visit us and drink the beer here and eat some food.
That's putting it bluntly.
Yeah. Being truthful, though.
Well, speaking drinking beer, I'm ready for another.
We got another glass here.
And I believe we've had this one before. We featured this one, I think, on one of our earlier episodes. Did you have this up at the farm show last year?
Yes, I did. Yeah, this won an award at the farm show this past year.
And I think we had it on our Darkest Night episode early on. That was one of our, I think, episode number 3 or number 4. So that was
hopefully it's like what you remember. So this would be a different batch from that one last year.
So what are we drinking, Derek?
So this is called Dusk Till Dawn. It's a dark Czech lager, and it's Foeder aged. So I ferment it in a wooden fermentation vessel. So you're going to get some oak and a little bit of smoke character. But it's also a very full-flavored lager, but it's still easy drinking. It's only 5% alcohol. It's still brewed with a lot of the Czech-style malts and hops. There's a few specialty malts to give it some caramel, some toffee, some chocolate, and a little bit of hint of roast, but not a whole lot. It's supposed to be very drinkable. And then that oakiness just gives it a really depth of complexity that adds to it.
Wow.
I like the aroma. It's very nice. Very nice.
Darkest Night, it's called.
Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn. That Darkest Night was our episode, dumbass. Dusk Till Dawn. Cheers to the
Cheers.
Dusk Till Dawn. Cheers.
So this is on our side pool faucet as well. So we do the Milko pour, the regular pour, and the slow pour. So when you get the Milko pour with the Pilsner and the Milko pour with the Dusk Till Dawn, you have your regular milk and your chocolate milk.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
So how many you're talking about the side pools. How many side pools do you have?
So we have 2 right now. I have another one that I take to festivals quite a bit. And I may be putting another one on the kegerator just so we can have 3 different beers. But typically it's our Czech style Pilsner, our Czech style dark lager. And whenever the dark lager's not on, usually our amber lager, Czech the Forest, will be in its place. Or our Wolftoberfest German Marzen.
Wow. This is better than I remember. And
well, I think it's a little better from my first batch.
How did you get it into the Foeder? Because we brought the Foeder into one of our earlier episodes because I thought it was a unique idea. This huge wooden barrel. What made you do that, and where is that at your location?
So when you pull up the front of our building, you'll see directly to the left of our front door, you'll see 3 wooden foeders. They're all 10 barrels, so they hold 310 gallons. And they age the beer they add a nice roundness to them, and it adds a nice character, an oaky character. For example, a Saison, sometimes the Saison yeast is rather abrasive. It really rounds out flavors and makes it more approachable to customers that may not be used to drinking a Belgian yeast. Or for a lager, for example, you're adding a ton of flavor to a lager that you normally don't expect a lager to have a lot of flavor. And the oak really adds that to it. So both those tanks, the farmhouse ale tank and our lager tank, are both light toast. And then we have a darker toast for brown ales and stouts. We just had a beer kick. It was called Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. So it tastes like a stout, but looks like a blonde ale. And we aged that in our wooden foeder as well. So that gave it a lot of depth of character. But it looked similar to this color, but tasted a lot of cold brew. It was like a vanilla cold brew chocolate latte. Very, very tasty. And
is that on tap now, Derek?
No, that just kicked a week ago or 2 weeks ago. We had a chocolate hazelnut edition. But I'm going to be brewing that again, hopefully this winter. So come spring, there'll be another batch on tap.
Well, this Dusk to Dawn, it has definitely got the roasty character out of it.
It does.
And I get a little of the oak. Pardon my French, but it's fucking delicious.
I'm glad you enjoy it.
So we had brought 4 crowlers back to do this episode. We got a lot of beer to drink, Dave. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
That last one's going to be a high octane one, so stay hydrated.
And that's the one. That's the one I had up there the other week when I was up. I think I had that triple chocolate. Was it the triple German?
Yep, triple German chocolate cake.
Yeah. Wait till you taste that one, Dave.
Yeah. When Brett comes up, you're going to have to give him a super flight.
I had 2 flights there that night.
Yeah, well, a super flight.
As Sally
like
and
a dozen.
Yep, Sally and I got up. I gave her the keys.
Yep.
You're driving. I tell you what, that is a awesome. It doesn't even really taste like a lager. It sounds almost like a stout. It's got the characteristics of a stout, but it's light, a little bit lighter. That's an awesome beer.
Oh, thank you.
So when you talked about this, was this in your business plan, or was this something you added to it, your barrel house, or was this always part of it, the foeders and that kind of stuff?
So the foeders were always really appealing to me. I mean, the ultimate goal with those 3 foeders are to be for wild sour ales. I just don't feel that the market is quite ready for, in Belgium, they've been doing it for hundreds of years, and Cantillon, they make phenomenal wild ales. And what they do is they typically have a tank that's 1 year sour, a 2 year sour, a 3 year sour, and then they blend them every year in different ratios, and then they age them on different orchard fruits. So eventually I hope that all 3 of those tanks are sour. They'll never be clean beers again, but that'll be the ultimate goal, where I have a cool ship up on the roof, which is a shallow vessel that you pump hot beer to and you let it cool overnight. And that inoculates and brings all the natural yeast in the atmosphere. You then take that, pump it down into your foeder, and you let it age. And then a lot of those, the microflora and the bacteria that are in there will help age the beer and give it a lot of character. And then depending on your blend every year, you're going to have a different product. So some may be more sour, some may be more funky, in a good way. And it's a lot of good probiotics, and it's a living ale, which a lot of sours now are kettle sours. You just make a sour in the kettle, you boil it, you kill it off, and then you treat it just like a regular beer. But once you start bringing bacteria in your brewery, you got to be very careful, because you can easily make your pilsner sour if you're not careful.
Oh yeah. When I first started, when my wife got me this beer kit, and she bought me a book, I read it. One of the things was clean, sanitize. Make sure it's clean several times and sanitize it several times. So the foeders, I mean, was a big topic we brought up, because I thought when we started this venture, and it was just the 4 of us talking, we needed to come up with ideas to talk about, because we didn't have guests yet. That was always something that intrigued me, was these foeders are basically wood barrels. They're just bigger. And a lot of craft beers, like industries, are going to a barrel aged with their stouts and stuff like that. But I think that Foeder with this dark Czech lager, and I'm looking up to see what I had up there the other night, because I always try and get at least a couple IPAs and a sour. And I'm trying to look up the sour I had up there the other week. I can't remember what it was.
You probably had the quadberry sorbet or the blueberry pie.
Quadberry. Fucking good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was 1,280 pounds.
It was a lot
fruits.
of
raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries. A little bit of marshmallow.
Oh, it was so good.
But about those Foeders, the worst thing about them is you can't clean them with chemicals. So you can't do CIP loops like you do with your stainless tanks. You can use hot water or steam. So the steam's great because you're killing everything no matter what. But you really got to get inside and scrub and hose it off. And you can't just do those automated loops. So they are very labor intensive and they leak, and there's issues that you always have to be looking at. But I love them. They're great. When you look up to the elevation of our building and you see them in the window, they're just very eye-catching and they're beautiful looking.
And we're going to throw some of those pictures of your building and your facility in throughout this episode. And was this all part of your vision, or did it kind of just like, okay, here's the building, did your wife and you collaborate on how you wanted to lay it out, what your vision was walking up to it? I'm curious of how that comes about when you buy a new building or build a building.
Yeah, our vision was to make sure you saw some sort of tanks as you're pulling up to our front door. And we moved around a lot of ideas because Foeders, really, you don't want them in windows just because of the sun. So you may have more leaking issues due to them being in the sun, which I was aware of that. But to me, I like the appeal and the look of the building with them up in those windows. We actually designed the Foeders. We customized them to fit the window so you could actually see the tank itself. And the manufacturer actually forgot the customization. They brought it at the regular height. So we had Osage. They're a pipe fabrication company here in Harrisburg area. They're fantastic. They came and put extensions on the legs, and so they ended up raising them a foot. So now the tanks are in the window, and you can see pretty much the whole wooden part of the tank. Previously, you saw 60% clear glass window, and 40% was the tank. So we now have it so that it's a nice look, and it's a good first look when you walk into Wolf Brewing. You say, oh, those look interesting. So it makes it easier. So if I had barrels, I'd be messing with 6 55-gallon barrels where I can have one tank, and you have a lot more surface area with that one tank. But barrels, depending on what you want to do, if it's a bourbon barrel, whiskey barrel, Chardonnay, Merlot barrel, you're going to get a lot of flavor from that. So I'm still going to do barrel-aged beers as well. But I'm looking to get about 10 gallons of bourbon, 15 gallons of bourbon, and I can circulate it in a Foeder for 48 hours or so. I'll just keep the pump running. And that way I'll soak the Foeder with the bourbon, and then I can age a beer in it. It won't be exactly the same as a bourbon barrel aging a stout in it, but it'll be close.
Wow. I tell you what, I feel dumb talking to Derek.
Yeah, you do. I do. Yeah, the conversation is very interesting. It's very educational, but a little bit over my head.
Yeah.
But as far as beer is concerned, I enjoy drinking it. I enjoy understanding on how to brew it, and the different flavors and different profiles and everything else. But you're an expert.
Yeah, this.
I have a lot to learn.
No, we have a lot to learn there. This conversation, I wasn't expecting all this knowledge coming from you as far as the background of how you got into this. And you're almost like a worldwide expert. You got, I'm telling you, you got awards under your belt you can gloat about. Like, hey, look at me. The knowledge you got becoming a judge, your wife and you collaborating to start your own business. Now, who does the cooking? Do you have a chef, or does she come up with recipes? You come up with recipes? How does that work?
So when we first opened, we had our own menu that we came up with recipes ourselves and just gave it to our chef and just said, take this, elevate it, make it better. Because we knew a lot of our ideas were good, they just weren't fantastic. They needed to be, they needed a final touch from a culinary expert. So we have a chef that just started a few weeks ago, Chef Tom Eckert. He's fantastic, and he truly is bringing an amazing talent to our culinary team. We had great chefs previously. They've really helped us out to get where we are today, and we'll thank them for all that they've done for us too. But the chef really, he's the one running the show back there. He's helping to put the final touches on the dishes before they go to the customer. We have a great culinary team, a lot of great people back there working their butts off every day. It is definitely difficult to work in a commercial kitchen. It is not the same as cooking at home. I always thought I love cooking. I can't handle it back there. I'd get in their way. My elbow would fly and hit them in the head. I can't keep up with them. They're amazing.
Yeah, and I just took an ownership training meet, and one of the videos he played was from the McDonald brothers, how they came up with the idea of McDonald's fast food and how it's all choreographed. And a kitchen's the same way. It's got to be a choreography, or like you just said, you're going to be bumping elbows with everybody. So that's how they come up with it. Brewing, is it just you, the brewer, or do you have an assistant, people that help you?
It's just me. I mean, my father-in-law or my dad, occasionally they'll come in and help dump bags in the grain mill as I'm up on the brew deck. I can do it by myself. I'm running back and forth a lot. So it's nice that when they come to help, it gives me a little bit of more time to actually focus on the temperatures and pH a little bit more and dial things in. When you're running back and forth, you may all of a sudden, even though it may be 30 seconds, your temperature may drop by a degree or something, and you're constantly trying to manipulate it, because if you screw up your mash tun and your temperature, your pH, you just ruin the whole beer. You can try to fix it later in the kettle and add, different sugars to try to thicken the body and do different things with the yeast, but it's tough. If you ruin the mash tun, that's what's nice with extract. You're given what you're given, so you have extract and it's been created and it's high quality, but you can't manipulate it from there. No, so that's where all your manipulation happens. And if your pH is off by, 0.2, 0.3, or your temperature's off by 1 or 2 degrees, it'll really change the finish and the body of the beer.
Wow. I tell you what, you've created a phenomenal business model. What's our third beer going to be?
Dubs IPA. So my nickname growing up was DW, and then it eventually became W, and then it was Dubs. So my family and they said you need to have a Dubs IPA on tap. So it's my two favorite hops, Citra and Simcoe. And I created this beer. It's like an East Coast, West Coast style. It's not too hoppy. It's more on a fruity side, so that you're not going to get as much bitterness. It's supposed to be a very smooth, easy drinking IPA. So a lot of IPAs are more abrasive as far as West Coast styles, and East Coast are a little fruitier, but this is kind of right in the middle of the road. It's more of an easy drinking, smooth IPA that shouldn't ruin your palate. So when you eat, it's going to go well with what you're eating.
Wow. So Dubs IPA, what kind of ABV are we talking on something like this?
So this is only 6.7%. So it's got some kick to it, but still very easy to drink.
Definitely know it's an IPA because you're getting that hop character is there, but it's crushable, almost like a juicy citrus to it.
Yeah,
it does have a juicy flavor to it. It is good though. I'm not a big IPA fan, and everybody will tell you Dave's not the IPA guy, so don't give it to him.
Get ready, Derek. He's going to give you like a 2.616.
Yeah. No, 2.79399999. No, I'm sorry. Not really. Actually, to tell you the truth, it's better than that. I'd definitely give it in the high threes.
Yeah, it's very good.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
Yep.
I tried to make it for the non-IPA drinkers. This is a very approachable IPA. It's not like our Wolf of Market Street. It's a triple IPA or some of our double IPAs that are a lot more abrasive and hop forward. This is one that if someone says, I don't like IPAs, I usually approach them with this and say, try this and see what they think. Because a lot of times they don't expect it to be fruity, and it's got some sweetness to it, so it's not too bitter.
No. And like you said, East Coast, more like an East Coast or New England. I guess it's New England. They're calling juicies right now.
Yes.
That's the new terminology for New England. But like you said, this is almost like right in the middle.
You get the piney notes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I was up there. I had that Wolf on Market Street. I'm not an IPA guy either, but I enjoyed that one.
Oh, glad you enjoyed it.
In my fridge, you're going to find a variety of sours, IPAs, stouts, lagers. I got a variety. Nothing mass marketed. It's all craft beer. The wife said, I'm going to get you a beer kit, and maybe it'll save us some money.
Well,
it definitely didn't save you any money, Derek.
I was brewing way too much. Yeah, it was an expensive hobby. And I kept brewing and then shipping it across state lines, and that became very expensive as well.
Now, are you looking to distribute sometime? Is that in your future plans or?
Yeah, I'm looking to self-distribute, eventually down the road, hire a salesperson and get a van and have them drive around dropping off kegs and cases of beer. I'm going to start packaging more. I mean, right now, being in the hospital so much, it's difficult to have time for packaging. So I did just package a new 4-pack that we're releasing. We just released on Sunday called Grey Wolf, which is an eggnog-inspired. It's a blonde, pale winter seasonal ale. So typically, winter seasonals are darker. But I collabed with Greystone. Jason Viscount wanted something on the paler side and seasonal, so spiced. So we came up with an eggnog idea. So this is the 4-pack we just released. So if you look close, you'll see.
I think I'm going to be coming up there to grab some of that. It sounds very interesting.
It's definitely it's not too difficult to drink. It's not too sweet. So I made it so you could, if you drank a 4-pack, you're not going to feel like you're going to get diabetes for the amount of sugar that's in it. So it's definitely still a refreshing beer.
So what other styles are you looking to do? Or do you have your particular ideas of styles that you want to stick with? And this is what I'm going to brew and maybe variations of that? Or is there something like Fourscore does the smoothies and stuff like that? Is that anything that has an interest to you or not?
So I think a lot of people love those beers. I like to, when I make a fruited sour, I like to ferment it. So I let the fruit age on the yeast. It adds more alcohol, and I feel like you can still taste the beer. Nothing against those beers. I mean, they're fruit juice. They're just pureed fruit, a little bit of that alcohol from the beer that they put in it, and they still taste delicious. I just like to make them so they're a little bit less sweet. You taste everything, and you taste the beer in the finish. I know when Imprint or Fourscore is going to come here to brew with me, they said that we're making one. So we're going to be pumping a lot of fruit puree in the tank and pumping a beer over to it and hoping for the best.
So that's a collab that's going to happen?
Yes, I know. Imprint, they've been pushing that they're going to come here and do a smoogie. At Fourscore, we've done collabs with them too, but as far as bringing people here, I need to start canning more because a lot of people just don't want kegs. So once we start canning a lot more, we'll be doing a lot more collaborations. That was kind of how we got started. I did a lot of commercial collaborations with a lot of local breweries and made a lot of contacts, learned a lot from them. Things of what they wish they did differently, what they would do if they did it again. That was a huge help. Just changing port sizes on the bottom of a fermenter, for example. It's something you wouldn't think about. Like, well, they make fermenters and they make them that way for a reason, but you can customize it and say, well, I'd like the dump port to be bigger just so I don't get clogs. Things like that. You just wouldn't, certain drains, certain fermentation sizes and shapes. So that was a lot of help, and they were very gracious to give a lot of pointers and ideas.
Now, do you have people coming to you now, like you said, you were reaching out to collab, or people coming to you like to collab with you, or reaching out to you for your knowledge? Because there's people reaching out for collaborations, and we have a bunch that we want to start setting up. And they know, between 2 full-time jobs, it's tough. I'm able to keep up with this location, and to brew other beers, it's difficult. But I worked on the Grey Wolf one for Greystone recently, and coming this coming year, I'm hoping to do a lot more. I know we've only done a handful of collaborations recently, so we want to start, bringing a lot more to the area, just because a lot of people like to see new and different and unique ideas. And a lot of times with collaborations, you're really coming up with something unique that you can't think of on your own, and you're bouncing ideas off of somebody who's
has a lot more knowledge than you, and they're really going to help you to come up with a new idea.
That's going to be a little tough there because you got a hell of a lot of knowledge just talking to you here tonight.
Oh, I know this much compared to a lot of these brewers I speak to. You know, they are experts in their field, and I hope to be as knowledgeable as them someday. And there's just a lot of the mechanical side of things, a lot of the techniques that I have a lot of learning to do. Recipe formulation, I enjoy, and I feel like I'm good at that, you know, but trying to learn new techniques on the mechanical side of things, that's my Achilles heel. I just need to really learn a lot more about processing and to get things better.
Now you're set up. You said, are you set up to can those 4-packs, or is somebody else canning them, or is there expansion room at your brewery?
So we have a little, it's a single head canner, so it can can crowlers. It could also can 16 ounce or 12 or 8 ounce. You just have to change the whole seaming mechanism and the rails. And so I switched to the 16 ouncers this past week. It was pretty labor intensive. It was about 6 hours to try to rip the thing apart and put it back together the way it should. But this one that I just came out with, the Grey Wolf, I actually had to use a seamer separate. So I filled it off draft and seamed the can separately because my canning machine did not like the eggnog extract that I added in that beer. It created a nucleation point, which is just like a volcano eruption. So whenever you're trying to can it, it just becomes way too foamy. Temperature was perfect. CO2 was perfect. Everything was perfect, but it just, that eggnog extract just caused a delay. So it almost thickened the beer too much, and that CO2 would not come out fast enough. So it was causing a lot of foaming. So that was frustrating, but we do have a way to can here. When we do bigger runs, I'll have a mobile canner come in and we can crank out a lot more. You know, so a single head filler, you're going to be here all day to do 10 barrels. Where if I had a bigger canning line come in, a mobile canner like Ironheart, it could take 6-7 hours to do 40 barrels.
So a mobile canner, that's an interesting idea. Somebody hit a niche there.
Yeah, it's great. They come in, they bring their whole system in, and they at least have 1 or 2 techs to help you along the process. So, if you're limited with staff, they're able to help, with some of the packaging as well. But you're going to pay a good bit for it. So your profit margin goes down quite a bit if you're not doing it yourself, or eventually you buy your own canning line and you do it all from your location. But they're expensive. You're going to spend $100,000 on a canning line. So
yeah, and having a mobile canner, yeah, it might be a little bit costly up front, but right now to get your product distributed and get it out there that's easily accessible for the masses, it's a bonus.
It is. The only thing I need now is more cold space. It's where those pallets of cans need to go. The kitchen uses half my beer cooler, so I need to figure out a way to get an outdoor cooler so I can throw pallets of cans in there so they don't go bad.
Do you have room for expansion up there, or your footprint what it is?
So we have room for expansion. We have a pad, if you're looking at our front door directly to the left of us, that we're paying an option to own at the end of year 3. We'll eventually purchase it, and then that could be an outdoor beer garden. It could be a bed and breakfast. It could be an inn. It could be a wedding venue. I mean, all sorts of things. I think what's going to happen is we'll probably end up expanding the building to our backyard, to our patio, and then most of our outdoor space will move to that pad. But we have a lot of ideas, and it's still a couple years down the road to see what we want to do. But I know the kitchen needs to grow. We never anticipated being 50% beverage, 50% food on a daily basis. So we're selling a ton of food and a lot more than we ever expected.
That's always the bonus. When you
People
got a
stay
business
longer when they have food.
Yeah. So I just took this ownership class, and the one quote that he said, "Make them high, they will buy." So apparently you're doing something right because you're making them high. You're hitting that stimulus, and you're making them wanting to buy. So you got good food, you got good beer, you got a great atmosphere. So you're doing something right, Derek. And kudos to you guys to keep doing it.
Thank you.
It's a phenomenal place. And when I get up that way, since we're in Dover, I don't get that way a lot. You're one of my stops. I'm coming there no matter what. Over the other stops, because let's face it, this area is growing with places you can go.
A lot of great places in Central PA.
Oh, it's awesome. And we've only started this about a year ago, and we called it the Central PA Pour for a reason. We wanted to focus on these main 5 counties, but We've barely got out of York County yet. and we still have a lot more to go.
Yeah.
So you have this Christmas ale out that's right now. Where can they get that? At your location? Where Greystone?
We have it available at our location, and then if you go to Greystone and Dillsburg, they should have cans available, and they'll have draft pours as well. And then Greystone, Harrisburg as well. They won't have as much in the Harrisburg. Just they're a little bit more of a wine cocktail. They do sell beer, but not as heavily as Dillsburg. I mean, you're on a golf course. They sell a lot of beer.
Yep. So go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to ask you. So, do you guys have any kind of Christmas plans for the restaurant and over the holidays? Say, for example, you've got some parties coming up.
Yeah, so we've had some holiday parties, and we're extending our hours. So Wednesdays and Thursdays, we typically open at 3. So we're going to be opening at 11 tomorrow and Thursday, and then extended hours the following week, Wednesday and Thursday. But we do close early for Christmas Eve, so all our staff can go home with their families. So we close at 4 p.m. on Christmas Eve as well as New Year's Eve. Eventually next year, I know we want to have a big New Year's Eve bash and have a big party. So that'd
be nice
for next year.
That'd be nice. You gonna have anything to drop?
Yeah. Well, what we probably do is get a keg. We'll have a keg drop.
I was going to say a keg. I was going to say going to drop a keg.
And we use all disposable kegs, so they're all plastic. So if the keg drops by mistake, it won't damage anything.
That's like my college fraternity. I tap a keg. No, I'm sorry. That was a bitch.
Well, speaking of kegs, my wife got into this show called Barmageddon. I don't know if you saw it.
I haven't.
Carson Daly and who's the country singer?
Yeah, what's his name? Blake Shelton.
Blake Shelton
and his wife
his wife. It's his. It's one of the Bella sisters. So.
Oh, okay. What his wife actually they did a promo. They did a promo on it, and she was in the promo. That's what I thought there.
So we're watching this last night, Derek. And speaking of kegs, so you know how Dave and I talked about this curling from the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
I don't watch it, but every 4 years. I don't understand a damn thing about it. But they were doing this with the kegs on wheels. Curling. Yeah. I'm like,
that's great.
That looks
full or empty.
They were probably empty.
They were empty.
You pushed them with a push broom.
Yeah.
That was cool as crap. I'm like, that'd be a hell of a good backyard game.
Oh, yeah.
So, the way Dave brought it up about dropping something. So, Jeff Lau from Mudhook down here in downtown York, they do a New Year's Eve drop. So his son or son-in-law goes up on the rooftop, the brewer, and they drop their Cherry Lane stout off and he's got to catch it and drink it.
Yeah, without a breaking.
That's his New Year's Eve drop. So that's why Dave was asking, you're going to do a New Year's Eve drop. So maybe your wife goes up on the top or one of your staff and drops you down your triple German.
Yeah. That's great.
So, Derek, I tell you what, I'm glad we finally got hooked up to do this. It would have been great if we could have connected to have you in studio and do it personal, but this is just as great. I've been blown away by the knowledge you got for not only brewing, the business plan that you and your wife came up with, and how you're making things work with a full-time job and another full-time job, a baby on the way. You're making it look easy.
No.
and I doubt I don't think it's that easy. I have my own business. It's not easy being your own boss. It's not. And having employees to answer for. So kudos to you. Tell us once again where they can find Wolf Brewing. Are you on the internet, social media? Just tell us where they can find and come see Wolf Brewing.
Yeah, we're based in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. If you look on social media, Wolf Brew Co., WOLF Brew Co., CO. That's our social media handle across the board. And our website is www.wolfbrewingco.com. And you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. We try to post pretty regularly, and our website we update frequently. So if you're interested in looking at our menus, what beers we have available, what food we have available, cocktails, wine, mead, cider, and then our events, we have live music every Friday. So if you're interested in checking out live music, Friday nights are always a lot of fun.
I tell you what, Dave, you got any last questions to ask?
No, you say you have live music on Fridays?
Friday Night Live every Friday.
Yeah, okay. Maybe that'll be the day I have to stop up, check out the live bands. Yeah.
Well, speaking of checking us out, look us up on all your social media platforms at Central PA Pour. You can email us at centralpa4@gmail.com. Check out Ben and our Mix of Six live episodes every Wednesday at 8 o'clock.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
While we're recording.
That's the next day.
The next day.
The next
Long
day.
story. We won't even.
We won't get into that.
But we're doing live episodes. So, Derek, again, we appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us here at the CPP.
Thank you.
And explain Wolf Brewing, what it's about. I'm totally blown away with the conversation. And that happens a lot because we're still amateurs at this, and finding somebody with your knowledge, your background, your skill of how you got here and what you know is just mind-blowing.
The honor's mine. Thank you guys so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
We're gonna promote the crap out of this, and we're gonna see if we can get people to come to see Wolf Brewing. Any last comments, Derek, before we get out?
Oh, no, I appreciate everything, guys, and I hope you all have a wonderful holiday and a wonderful new year. And stay safe, family and friends. Hope you guys have a wonderful time.
Well, I appreciate it, Derek, again, on behalf of Dave and I. Kevin is not here. He is our third for the recording, and Ben is our live episode guy. And look for him because he'll probably reach out to have you on our live episodes just as a touchback once in a while.
Sounds good.
So what is going to be our cheers beer, Derek?
So you have your triple German chocolate cake. So this is a 10.2% heavy stout. It's a sweet stout, so it's got lactose in it, but it has a ton of coconut, ton of chocolate, and then some of the malt profile gives it a little nuttiness, like the walnuts or pecans that you would put on the German chocolate cake. And this is a beer that we've been known for years, and we always made a regular German chocolate cake, which was only about 5.5%. And then we made a double, which was 8.2, and now this is our triple, which is 10.2. We'll be going for a quadruple German chocolate cake. It'll be about 14%. That'll be our next batch.
I'm going to have to know when that one comes out.
Smells delicious.
It does. So, Derek, once again, thank you very much for joining us here on the Central PA Pour. If you're out there, let's pick up a glass, whatever is in it. Let's raise one with Wolf Brewing Company and Derek and the CPP, and let's all be bonded by beer. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.